All right, guys, we got an old Matic chart up right now. We're gonna go see if we can just, I told you that using these candles in conjunction with other, like market structure, other trading ideas is extremely important. But the one thing that we're always really interested in is kind of identifying like trend reversals, trend changes. Being prepared for when the market's going to go a different direction. I mean, you want to buy support so that you can sell resistance. And so what that means that you have to buy something lower and sell something higher. And so just like a quick demonstration is we're actually just going to go through a bunch of these peaks, essentially, where the big pivots in price are, and just see how many of them are either engulfing candles, either have dojis or have some kind of a hammer pattern. Um, and that's why I say that like they they show up in other, they can show up in a ton of places in the price action, but really frequently do they show up at the actual pivots, which is what we really care about. And so, first one right here at the bottom, it's a small little candle, but right there, that is a red hammer, and actually that is a red hammer followed by a bullish engulfing, and that hammer bullish engulfing marked the absolute bottom of 170% run up. And actually, this takes me to one other thing. I mentioned bullish engulfings. People don't often trade from, or I don't often trade from. I'll actually set like if all of the other things are aligning with it, I'll enter at 50% of that candle. And so if we just drag this tool, I'm following the bullish engulfing here. So it goes down 670. Okay, I'll just call it 700. So I would enter at about 350 down, and this would have put us, this would have put us as entering right there. And that, notice how that's an even better entry price. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter, but this was a good example of why I showed that like I don't ever really enter off of an engulfing candle's close, because you get usually some kind of corrective move to it. Not always, but if you don't, screw it, you'll find a different trade. But there's one perfect example. If we go to the top of even this pivot, we can zoom in a little bit more here. Let me actually just get this arrow. That right there, that's an inverted hammer. And again, doesn't make a big move, but you see that sell pressure is shown by that wick, and then we see it happen almost immediately from that. All right, let's go to some of the other big pivots. Here's another one at the bottom. Boom. Another hammer right there. This one here, bit of a doji. And so notice that a doji showed up as soon as the consolidation range showed up. So this candle is the first thing to tell you, hey, there's a lot of buy and sell pressure here. Bull and bears are going to battle it out. And so that's what happened for the next almost like 2 days or something like this on this candle. All right, let's see what else we got. And again, I'm just scanning totally live. Where'd it go? This is not quite a perfect doji because the body's not right in the middle, but it is pretty close. Has some buy sell pressure on both sides of the wick there. And again, I'm just pointing out how often these can show up and how often they tend to show up at these reversals. All right, I'm in this spot. Oh, I already showed that one. I'm not going to repeat. All right, hammer. 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 Man, these are just... And again, notice that, again, there's other hammers in places, but these are showing up at every bottom. And so if you put some confluence with them, they become quite powerful. All right, here we go. It's a pretty good doji. So downtrend for quite a bit. I mean, this is see how far this went down. It's a 20% drawdown. A doji shows up and you go, okay, maybe, maybe there's some battling happening, followed by a bullish engulfing. And actually that 50% entry would have worked perfectly here, and then it was a 10% run up before more downside. And again, this all kind of depends on the time scales you're trading, but these things show up everywhere, guys. These things are awesome. And even if you're not using it as a trend change, look at this right here. This isn't at the bottom of a trend perfectly, but look at how much buy pressure that is showing. The bulls scoop that up. and then it went that way. Again, it's not always perfect, but like if you use them with, you know, kind of thinking about what's happening, it's quite a bit more powerful. And again, here's one that didn't play out. Okay, so and it didn't play out because I mean, look at how strong this move is, and then a bunch of sell pressure came in, so there was definitely some uncertainty going on here, but ton of sell pressure, and while the price didn't reverse, that sell pressure did hold this coin here for quite some time. I mean, looks like it held it here for over a week. And so these are pretty strong candles, and I mean that's why I really just focus on hammers, dojis, and engulfings, because they just show more strength than not. And again, this is also even using wicks. It's not even a hammer here, but this is, you know, quite a strong wick. And we can tell that once that strong wick showed up, it actually never revisited this price again. Actually, I don't think it ever visited that price again ever. Which just show that, like, you know, these things do show up everywhere, and once you know, it's just something that I don't trade solely on, but if I'm considering entering a trade and I'm unsure about it, or if I'm buying on like a support resistance drop, so let's imagine that, you know, let me get the path, sorry guys. All right, let's imagine price is consolidating for a while, it's consolidating for a while, and we have support and resistance lines drawn here. And then what happens is price bumps out of that and is coming back to it. This can often be a really good entry for a trade because, you know, it's retesting that support. But, you know, how often does a trade just kind of come back down here, put in a lower high before then continuing higher? Like, that's very possible. And so one of the things that I can do is that, you know, when you're waiting for this support entry or something like that, you wait for that 1 hour, you know, like hammer pattern to show up, and so you end up getting some kind of you might get, you know, a big wick to the downside, but then that candle body still closes up here. And that's all your buy pressure. That candle closes, you enter there. I mean, that's fine. That's the kind of signal that you need to then ride it to the next bit higher. And so you start combining these ideas where you're now doing this. You're throwing this in here. It was a very small retrace, and look, you can take it right up to your 0.272. And sure, you missed some of this stuff. You missed a little bit of that move, but, you know, you're still walking away with, well, in this case, you know, 40% in this example. But you see what I'm saying? You start combining these ideas, and this is kind of a perfect avenue of where waiting on this candle close is a great idea. And you can zoom into different time frames. You can do a bunch of things with them. But dojis, hammers, and engulfing are candles that I think tell the most powerful stories for sure.